Fate Entertainment.
Up all day and all night, pushing all the buttons up to something till it's alright. He looking at it from all sides and angles. Got a stripes on his body like he played for the Bengals.
Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of State of the Jungle, live from the First Star Logistics studio, presented to you by First Star Logistics. I'm your host, Malik Wright. It's just me here tonight, guys. Just me here tonight. But before we get into the show, as always, make sure you guys give this video a like. If you guys can do me a huge favor, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate your support on a consistent basis. It was important for me to go live with you guys to, pretty much talk everything through. Right? We talk about wins on the show together. We talk about losses on the show together. And we're going to discuss the season on this show together. And we're going to talk about it. First and foremost, I want to start this off by saying congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes and that crop. That's an amazing team over there in Kansas City that we went up against. I also want to say, regardless of the outcome, I am so proud of this team. I'm so proud of this city. I'm just so proud of the organization. A couple years ago, if you would have thought that the Cincinnati Bengals would be here, most pundits out there would say the Bengals would not be here. As a matter of fact, a lot of people said the Bengals would not be here. A lot of people said Joe Burrow should, quote unquote, tell the team that he isn't going to play for them. A lot of people said Joe Burrow should pull an Eli Manning. And I think Cincinnati showed everyone what could happen when you have a leader like Joe Burrow, when you have a coach like Zach Taylor, and when you have a team that plays for one another. Special things could happen. Vince Lombardi said, when you get a group of men believing in the same common goal, that's when you have the ability to create something special. And I think it rang true. I think the last 2 years, the turnaround you've seen out of the Cincinnati Bengals has been so special. And, it's funny. Joe Burrow, after the Super Bowl loss last year, he said, we're not going to not celebrate the season that we had. There are no consolation prizes, of course, right? We all wanted to be at the big stage. We all thought that this would be the year the Bengals would be hoisting the Lombardi Trophy. But I believe with everything in life, it's all about perspective. You think about how the Cincinnati Bengals fought so hard to get here and the circumstances that they had to overcome just to be at this part. Remember, at this stage of the game, there are only 4 teams that make it to conference championships, 2 in the NFC, 2 in the AFC. The Bengals are one of those teams in the AFC. And last year, we were one of the final 2 teams in the NFL who made it to the Super Bowl. And there is no, trophies being given out for finishing second place or third place or fourth place. But I do think it's important to talk about how special this run this team has been on, has truly been. I think last year it was a lot of people said it was a fluke. A lot of people said the Bengals weren't expected to be here. The Bengals would not be here. They only got here because of injuries, so on and so forth. And I think that this year, the Cincinnati Bengals proved to the entire NFL world that they are truly, in fact, players in the AFC, in the title picture. And I think that they need to start being treated as such. And I think they will, honestly, guys. I really, really do. again, there were a lot of interesting calls, or well, I'll say it wasn't always an even playing field. It felt at times last night. But I'm also going to say the Bengals had a lot of opportunities to win that game. The Bengals had a lot of opportunities to win that game, and the Bengals did not win when the opportunity presented itself, right? I genuinely believe that when it was all said and done, Joe Burrow had an opportunity with 2 minutes left to go in the game with the ball in his hands. If you would have given me that scenario, I would have taken that scenario 10 out of 10 times. And the fact that we weren't able to make anything of it was honestly shocking to me. It was. But I stand here today as the same guy who brashly and confidently boasted and said that the Cincinnati Bengals would beat the Kansas City Chiefs, saying to you guys, I was wrong. I was wrong. And I am not so big-headed or full of myself from an ego standpoint to not admit that I was wrong, regardless of what the circumstances were, right? When you look at the game log at the end, they're not going to talk about bad calls. They're not going to talk about the lack thereof of calls. It's going to come down to the final result. I got to be the person that sticks to their own guns when they say it. Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And the numbers say the Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals for the first time in the Joe Burrow era, 23-20. That's what the numbers say. And again, hats off to the Kansas City Chiefs. Hats off to Steve Spagnuolo, because I'm the same guy pregame show that said that this guy doesn't have a defense. He has a fence. I'm the same guy that set up pregame show and said I did not respect Steve Spagnuolo's defense, and I felt like he played a lot of players out of position at times and things of that nature. Steve, you called one hell of a game. One hell of a game. Props to the Kansas City Chiefs. Props to Steve Spagnuolo. That's what I got to say about that. I have a lot of respect for the game that they called last night. I have a lot of respect for the Kansas City Chiefs football organization. I have a lot of respect for that fan base, you know. But I think the simple fact is, I think it's important to be able to recognize when sometimes sometimes the better team doesn't always win. Sometimes, you know, it falls where it is, you know, and that's what it comes down to. The Chiefs came out, they were ready, and they won the game. So again, hats off to the Kansas City Chiefs. Like all shows that we do, we're going to take questions. I'm going to answer your questions. I'm going to talk to you guys, because this is the only live interactive Bengals show and studio show that allows the audience, whether you're a Bengals fan, a Chiefs fan, a Cardinals fan, I don't care who you are, you could join us on the show and we'll talk, and I'll answer all your questions. For those of you who are new to my content, again, my name is Malik Wright. I'm an NFL insider. I also, I kind of rose rose in this game by breaking a lot of Bengals NFL news. So I have a lot of inside sources when it comes to the Bengals and things of that nature. So I know for the last few weeks, I've been very reluctant to answer off-season questions because I thought we were still in season and things of that nature. So I was very much still in the moment. But now this is the part where I get to sort of like put my hat on, and, you know, the off-season where I do what I do. You know, the simple fact of the matter is I think that there's a lot to look forward to this offseason. I think the Bengals have a lot of questions they need answers. And yeah, I have nothing but respect for the Kansas City Chiefs organization. The Chiefs fans that I met, they were awesome. You know, we had some great conversations pregame and even during the game. You know what I mean? I'm not one, if anybody's ever watched a game with me, I barely talk throughout the game, sort of on mute, if you will. But again, hats off to you guys. It was Kansas City was a fantastic environment. The game day environment was awesome. Getting to see Fat Joe perform was pretty cool as well. So hats off to you guys. You know, but I'm gonna tell you guys the same thing that I said to the Bengals last week. You know, if you just because you guys beat us, you still got to finish the job. Right? You still got the Eagles to worry about. And I said the same thing with us. We beat Buffalo. If we, you know, just because we beat Buffalo, that means nothing. We still got to go out and beat KC, and we weren't able to do that. Hats off to you guys. You guys finally got the job done, man. And I think the cool thing about it is this is a matchup we'll have to look forward to for the next couple of seasons. And as far as I could tell, we have you guys on our schedule this upcoming year as well. Or we have to travel back to Arrowhead. I probably won't be there this time around, but looking forward to that matchup. Daniel, let's get to some questions. But before we do, if you're looking to start your career today as a broker, make sure you apply to First Star Logistics. No better place with better atmosphere, better people than First Star Logistics. Literally just got off of a road trip, headed to Arrowhead in the First Star Logistics Mobile Studio where we had a show, we had an awesome time, had drinks, the whole 9 yards. It was fantastic. These type of unforgettable experiences are things that only happen when you are working alongside great people and great individuals. Can't say enough good things about the people at First Star Logistics. Hats off to the entire crew there. But if you're looking to start your job today as a broker, make sure you apply to First Star Logistics. Daniel, favorite part of the show, let's jump to the questions.
So before we get to the questions, I've got a question for you, Malik.
Sure.
There was a lot of trash talk, leading up to the game. And during the game, obviously, we saw the whole back and forth after the game, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce. I'm just curious, what was your thoughts overall on the comments that they made and overall the trash talk, whether it was from the mayor, the whole 9 yards?
I thought that the mayor overdid it. I'm sure he's a great guy. I don't know him. I just moved to Cincinnati, I want to say, at the end of August. So I can't really shed too much light of it. I understand it was back and forth. It was a lot of people excited. It was a championship game, I think comments were taken a little bit out of, it was used as bulletin board material, but I think at this point in the season, like Zach Taylor said, when you're a football team, you're searching for any bit of motivation, bulletin board material that you could utilize. But I just want to clarify one thing, that something that really, really got annoyed to me, if you will. Joe Burrow has never once trash talked anybody. Okay, he's shown nothing but respect to Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs organization. So I never really understood the fascination of trash talking him or saying Burrow is this or Burrow's that. But I understand where it comes from. I understand it comes from when you have a rivalry, it's almost like how the Dolphins view Tom Brady, right? Or the Bills view Tom Brady. And no, I'm not saying Joe Burrow's Tom Brady, but what I am saying is when you have a guy that is your Achilles heels or they're quote unquote your counterpart or a team that seems to be, that always seems to be that thorn in your side. Like for as great as Patrick Mahomes is, right? I would say Joe Burrow is to Patrick Mahomes what Steph Curry is to LeBron James. That's what I would say. That always that thorn in your side. And you might get one up on him. You might get two up on him, but at any, given point in time, they could beat you as well. And I think that's what it comes down to. And I think it's okay to have those healthy competitions. And I think it's one of those things where Chiefs fans, and you should even have seen the talks that we had with Chiefs fans before game. A couple Chiefs fans said to us straight up, you guys are going to win this game. You guys are the better team. You're this, and third. That man, Joe Burrow, number 9, is a bad dude. These are the legit conversations we had with Chiefs fans, season ticket holders that's been Chiefs fans for 20 plus years. You know what I mean? And these are the conversations we had. And so I thought that if they could be mature enough to have those type of dialogues and have those type of conversations, I think it's a fact. So I think when we look at it, I think that a lot has been made of the trash talk and things of that nature, but I think that this is a healthy competition that's going to continue for years. Make no mistake about it. There are going to be times where the Chiefs are on the losing end of this losing end of the stick. Trust me, they've been there 3 times in one calendar year. So there are going to be times where they're going to be on the losing end of the stick. There are going to be times where the Bengals are on the losing end of the stick. The fact of the matter is, greatness brings out the best in everyone.
All right. So we've got a good question here, and they're talking about the offseason. Should Von Bell be a priority to be re-signed in this offseason?
Absolutely. I think Von Bell is the priority over Jesse Bates, as he should be.
All right. What about Jesse Bates? What's your overall thoughts on Jesse Bates?
Nothing. I don't think Jesse Bates helped his case personally. I think he's had moments this year. Yeah, just my thoughts. I think that it's time to move on for both parties, honestly, at this point.
When you look at, the free agency, should the Bengals go out and get a new starting cornerback?
I love Cam Taylor-Britt. I love Juice. I also believe they're getting Chidobe Awuzie back. I think that you want to get a starting caliber corner, a guy that could fill into that role, but I don't think you necessarily have to go out there and splurge and get a starting level cornerback, because I think that Cam Taylor-Britt and Cam Taylor-Britt and Chidobe Awuzie will be those guys.
Andrew's asking, do you think Callahan or Lou is more likely to get a starting job or a head coaching job?
Man, that's a tough question. I think Callahan. I think the Colts are really, really interested in Callahan. I'm curious to see what takes place when it comes to that. But again, if you ask me who I think is more deserving, I think Lou. I think Lou is downright the best defensive coordinator in the National Football League, and I think people are starting to slowly but surely catch on to that.
Pedro said a huge shout out here from Brazil. It was great watching State of the Jungle. Absolutely loves it. Do you feel like this is the most important offseason in Bengals team history?
I certainly do, because I think that this offseason could pretty much tell you the trajectory of how this run is going to go. I think the Super Bowl window will always be open when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, but I think the Bengals can do certain things that are abnormal to them to help the window open up even bigger, if you will. And thank you so much, Pedro, for supporting all the way from Brazil. I can't speak Portuguese. I'm not. I wish I could say something, but I greatly appreciate your support. If you're a UFC fan, I'm pulling for your guy Alex Beheaded to beat Israel Adesanya coming up in a fight, but that's another talk for another day. I appreciate your support.
Sean said, who do you feel like could be a surprise cut from the front office this offseason?
A surprise cut. Lyle Collins, if that's surprising. I think I could see that happening potentially.
Timo's asking about the offensive line. He said the Bengals need an offensive line. What's your thoughts on what should the Bengals do with the offensive line? Are you comfortable with it? Do they need work?
I definitely think they need work. It's very hard to say exactly what they need. I think they should be solidified at the two guard positions and center. I love Kappa, love Volson, love Karras. You have question marks at left tackle. You have question marks at right tackle. Your left tackle could be on the roster. Your right tackle could be on the roster. I think that there should be a healthy competition between Jackson Carman and Jonah Williams for the left tackle job. And whoever loses that battle should probably get some run at the right tackle position if you don't go out there and try to look for the position if they also don't move him from Lyle Collins. But if you ask me, if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I'm doing everything in my power it is to, stretch my dollars as long as I possibly can.
So we got a guy, Steel City Sports, a Steelers fan. He said, from the Bengals' point of view, who's the biggest threat to them in the AFC North this upcoming year?
Biggest threat?
Yeah.
I would say the biggest threat is going to be the Baltimore Ravens. I think the next biggest threat is going to be the Cleveland Browns. But if I'm a betting man, I would say the Baltimore Ravens are going to be the Bengals' biggest threat. I do.
Not a question, but a hell of a year from you guys, from our guy Jared. He said, best Bengals show in the business, from Malik to Dana behind the scenes. Evan, Logan, fabulous year. Love the.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate the love, Jay. Hope you're having a great time in Spain, my man, too. And make sure you guys check his show out, The Bengals Den. They do a great job with Kale and Chris. It's awesome how they make it all work. Jared's from the U.S., although he's in Spain right now. Chris is in Ireland, and then you have Kale, who I believe is in Canada. So it's pretty cool how you get three Bengals fans together and you form a great show such as the Bengals Den. And Jerry, you do a great job with your edits and things of that nature, man. Greatly appreciate you. Always support, man.
Julian's asking about T. Higgins, and I kind of want you to go a little bit in depth on T. Higgins. He had a monster catch yesterday, and I see a lot of people saying, oh, trade T. Higgins, get him off. What's your thoughts? Do you think T. Higgins gets extended, and should the Bengals keep him on the team?
I've always said this. I think the Bengals are going to make T. Higgins a priority. I have trouble. I'm not going to say I'm going to say that for the offseason, but I'll just say this. I think that Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are priorities.
Another good question here, asking about the offense. Our guy Gavin said, are we going to draft another receiver or tight end?
Oh, a tight end can definitely be on the board. I think the Bengals are going to look to listen. I want to be very, very clear. So the onus is now on Duke Tobin, guys. I'm just be honest with you. This is the time where front offices get smart. Like, let me explain something to you. The Bengals have made it this far the last 2 years by drafting well and also picking up pieces from free agency, whether they be cast-offs from other teams, so on and so forth. They haven't really gone out there and swung big and picked up a guy that's just quote-unquote game-changing that the national. They haven't pulled off a Von Miller-esque type move like the Buffalo Bills. They haven't pulled off a monumental trade like a Stephon Diggs. They haven't gone out there and done some of the things that other teams have done. That's not to say that they can't do it. It's more so the Bengals are at a point where I think that they've they've won with how they've sort of attacked free agency and how they attacked the draft. But now this is the time where the Cincinnati Bengals can go out there and add a piece or two that could finally take this team over the top.
Our guy Mac Johnson said, Jermaine Pratt or Logan Wilson, who's going to get extended?
Logan Wilson. Jermaine Pratt, I do not expect to be back in Cincinnati.
I've got a question for you, Malik.
Yeah.
We were sitting, side by side. Thanks first star at the game. There was one player that received a lot of criticism, rightfully so. I'm blanking on the name here. 21, Mike Hilton. What was your overall thoughts on his game and the season as a whole? Should he be a starting corner for the Bengals?
Oh, absolutely should be a starting cornerback for the Bengals. But you guys also know we're very real on the show. He played horrible. It's no to talk that way, burrowhead and say the things you said, and then come out there and get attacked literally, almost every big third down conversion by Patrick Mahomes. I put the onus not on just Mike Hilton, but I also think that was one of the few times where I was like, I questioned almost, the game plan going in at certain points, because it seems like every time we play the Chiefs, Mike Hilton is a focal point to attack, because he's one of the best slot corners for his tackling, his blitzing. I do think there's work to be done in terms of coverage ability, but he's still a phenomenal player. And I think that one game shouldn't be indicative of who he is as a player, but it was a rough night for him.
Ty Hunley said, I hate to blame the refs, especially since we had chances at the end. However, I can't get over the non-calls on blocking the backs. Do you think one should have been called?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Alice said, what about Joe Mixon and Tyler Boyd? What do you think the Bengals do with them this offseason?
Joe Mixon, I expect to be back. Tyler Boyd is TBD, I would say. We'll see.
Adding on to that, we had Nadi said, we got to draft a running back. What's your thoughts on drafting a running back?
I'm all for it. I think a scat back would work best in this system. A guy that could, pick up the hard on yards from checkdowns and things of that nature. There was a guy back in the day, the Patriots used to have him. I forgot what's his name. Who was the running back, Danny?
Oh, come on. Give me
it was, you had your James Whites of the world, but you also
Shane
had
Vereen,
Stephon Ridley.
Steven Ridley.
Yeah, you had so many different. I think a prime Giovanni Bernard will work out perfectly in this Bengals offense. Could you imagine an Isaiah Pacheco in this offense?
Yeah.
Be absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's what they need.
And I think a lot of times nowadays we see guys like Isaiah Pacheco is a great example. He wasn't drafted in the first round. And these guys on a rookie contract, Miles Sanders on a rookie contract, the Eagles are in a Super Bowl. I absolutely love that. I got a question about Joe Burrow. What happens after Joe Burrow gets paid? Are the Bengals going to be able to make all the moves that they want to make?
Yeah, because you got to realize the money doesn't really take into effect until the contract takes into effect, if you will. So, yeah, I don't think there's too many things you have to worry about on that. And they still will have Joe Burrow, quote unquote, on his rookie contract. I think that you have to then prioritize some of your other big time players, right? Like the T. Higginses of the world, like the Logan Wilsons of the world, things of that nature. Those are just moves that you just have to make. So I think that there are ways to manipulate the cap and make it work for you. And especially if you're signing to a longer deal, being able to spread that money over time and things of that nature. There are definitely things that the Cincinnati Bengals can do to make this a little bit easier on themselves.
Marissa said Jahmyr Gibbs would fit great. I think that would be amazing.
I would love Jahmyr Gibbs for the Bengals. That would be, yeah.
Do you think Chidobe Awuzie becomes healthy for the regular season?
Tough to say. He got hurt pretty late in the season, or not even late in the season. It was like was it like mid-season, or was it like I forgot exactly what week 6 or something like that?
Was the Browns game, right? Halloween?
Yeah. It was that game. That was last time the Bengals lost, I believe, right?
Yeah,
so I think it's kind of tough to say exactly to say what's what, if you will, when he'll be back with, because everybody's recovery is different. Being a cornerback, you need to make sure your lower muscles are firing all cylinders and things of that nature, and you want to be careful on your road to recovery, especially from a significant knee injury such as an ACL tear and things of that nature.
Chris B said, "Is Chris Evans gone?"
No, I don't. I mean, Chris Evans is still here. I think that it's one of those situations where you remember, guys, when Travion Williams was drafted here in Cincinnati and he just continuously was inactive. I think that there are things that this coaching staff needs to see from a Chris Evans in order to feel comfortable, on a consistent basis, putting him in the game.
Pedro said, we got to draft the right tackle and pass rusher. And if you guys are watching this, make sure and if you want to see a player, whether it's free agency or in the draft, drop that player in the comment. Let's see who you want to bring to Cincinnati. But Malik, should they draft a right tackle or pass rusher?
I think it's all dependent upon what you do in free agency. There is a guy right now in San Francisco that I'm eyeing. And I would say that guy's name is Mike McGlinchey. That's a guy that I'm eyeing right now, right tackle. If you want a guy that's young, guy who the Bengals like coming out of I believe it was Notre Dame, was Mike McGlinchey. They really were a fan of his. I could see him. We still have sort of a lot of people from that same scouting department. That, Duke and his team, they loved Mike McGlinchey. So I could see a Mike McGlinchey coming to Cincinnati if the Niners do allow him to walk.
Jared said, Malik, do we have to draft the right tackle or a tackle early in the draft and also a wide receiver? What are your thoughts on a guy like Jackson Smith and Jigba?
I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba would make this offense completely unfair. I don't really see him in the Bengals' future. I definitely could see the Bengals going after a tackle or a tight end. If you want my honest opinion, I think the Cincinnati Bengals could use an edge rusher. Love Trey Hendrickson, phenomenal beast, but he needs another guy that could help him, essentially take some more pressure off of him, if you will. And I think if Cincinnati could add another pass rusher, that could even be, I know a popular name running around is Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame right now. He's a name that I just keep seeing popping up. And Cincinnati needs to do a better job of getting more guys that can rush the passer out there. And you want a relentless passer, a guy that could continuously put pressure on opposing quarterbacks, because it seems like a lot of the defensive ends that the Cincinnati Bengals currently roster are high effort guys that don't give up on plays, things of that nature, especially, not knowing the extent of a Joseph Ossai's injury. Hopefully it's not significant. It looked bad. But I think it's important that I think it's important that Cincinnati addresses the pass rush.
Question here from Ralph Phoenix. He said, if and when we let Jesse Bates walk, are we looking to add another veteran safety, drafting one, or is Dax Hill the future?
I'm sure that they would probably look to add another veteran, but Dax Hill is the future. That's why they drafted him. They gave him they spent the first round pick on him. Dax Hill, I loved what I saw from him in preseason. Not so much when I saw from him in the regular season. I understand he was playing out of position, but you would still like to see a guy that drafted that early with his coverage ability, make more plays. I think he made a play in Buffalo. But again, you want to see a more consistent play from him down the stretch.
What were your thoughts on Eli Apple and Trey Hendrickson in last night's game?
I thought Trey Hendrickson was null and void, and I thought he was not a factor at all. But I think there were things that were being done in order to prevent him, whether that be great blocking from Orlando Brown, sometimes chipping on the edge, even some holds were things. But the fact of the matter is, it didn't make enough noise to make a significant impact on the game. In terms of Eli Apple, I think with Eli, it is what you get, right? I mean, Eli's he's a good player, regardless of what people like to say. Eli Apple is a good player, right? He's a great player. He's in a shutdown corner. He's none of those things, but he's a guy that gets in your head. He's a Patrick Beverly, right? You look at Eli Apple. I think Eli Apple offers a lot to an NFL football team, and I just think that he gets a bad rap because of some of the stuff he does talk, and I think it's just easy to pick on him. That's why teams do it.
So what should the Bengals do with Sam Hubbard if we add pass rushers?
Nothing at all. I think Sam Hubbard is your starter, but I think that there needs to be a healthy rotation in there at times where, I think sometimes when you see guys like DJ Reader come off, listen, I think Sam Hubbard is a good edge rusher, but I think where he really, really stands out is in the run game. I don't think he always stands out in the passing game. And that's not saying Sam Hubbard has to come off the field, but I think there are different packages you can put in order to, help a guy like Sam Hubbard stand out even more, even when you put him in like the 3 tech position that he would play at times, last year and the year before last as well. So there are definitely things that you can do to help get more pressure on the quarterback, but it's certainly not cutting it with what we got right now.
Jared asks, is there any way to get out of Jonah's 5th-year option? And just a genuine question for you. What are your thoughts on Jonah Williams? Where does he lie for the Bengals next year?
The Bengals like Jonah Williams, right? Jonah Williams, but I think the measuring stick in Cincinnati was so high. I think the measuring stick was so high, especially when you go to the University of Alabama and you speak the way Jonah Williams talks, and you see a guy like Jonah Williams who was he was lauded for his tech. He was a technician coming out of college. That's a lot of people don't know. He was never a guy that had brute strength. He was never a guy that was, just elite overall. He was a guy that they said, if he got the technical side of it down, he could be a great tackle. I think Jonah Williams gets a bad rap for a lot of reasons. Number one, I want to just remind people, Jonah Williams came, into the league with an offensive line coach by the name of Jim Turner, who I believe is the worst offensive line coach, ever. Personally, I think he's horrible. I think he even got fired from where he left Cincinnati to go. The fact of the matter is, all the teachings he had got at Alabama were untaught to him, and then he started to put it all together, and then he got hurt. So, people forget he dislocated his kneecap. And not only did he dislocate his kneecap, he played on the dislocated kneecap for the majority of the season. And, have you, I don't know if anybody in this comment section has ever dislocated their kneecap, but I'd imagine it's a very difficult injury to play on. Your knee has no stability whatsoever. And then he dislocated his kneecap again, his other kneecap. So I just think the guy's been very, very unlucky. I think he's better than what he has shown. I also think that when you have a tackle like an Andrew Whitworth, it's very, very difficult to see a guy like Jonah Williams and properly grade him. I think a lot of people are looking at Cincinnati like, we need to go out there and grab a tackle. I would just say this. A lot of teams would kill for an average starting left tackle in the National Football League. A lot of teams would. And I think that Jonah Williams, if he's anything, he's that. He's average. I think he's a little bit above average, personally, if you ask me. I think that he's better than what he has, quote unquote, shown. I think he's putting it all together, though.
Trees with Leaves said, I'm glad you liked your Arrowhead experience. Were you able to get some Gates barbecue?
We went to Bates Barbecue. We went to Bates Barbecue, and it was really, really good. Some Bates City barbecue. I had a really, really great time. Great people in KC, and the food was amazing as well.
We also had this thing called Quesadilla, I think it was.
Quesadilla, yeah.
Quesadilla in the stadium wasn't bad.
It was pretty good.
So Sean said, if Lou leaves, is his replacement on the current staff right now?
I have a hard time saying that it is, personally, brother. But I also, it'll be tough. It'll be tough, especially this late in the season. But I think the Bengals, it won't be like last year's search where you got the Todd Granthams of the world or the Jack Del Rio saying they refuse to come here and coach. I think you'd have your pick.
Alice said, do you think we would have beat Philly? Obviously a hypothetical, but I know some people are asking about if they would have beat Philly.
I think the run that Cincinnati was on was very, very special. And I think that if you beat the Buffalo Bills, if you beat the Kansas City Chiefs, if you beat the Baltimore Ravens in that defense, I think that it's very hard to see them not beating a team like the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think that Lou would have schemed up a fantastic game plan for Jalen Hurts. But again, that's water under the bridge. Unfortunately, we'll never know.
If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to drop them down below, whether it's off-season draft, the whole 9 yards, drop them down below. We got a question about Quentin Spain. Rel said he reached out. Should the Bengals look at him as a viable option?
I'll put it to this, brother. Quentin Spain has been living in Cincinnati all year. He's been to Bengals games several times. I think if they were going to reach out to him, this would have been the year to reach out to him, and they didn't. So for whatever reason, I reached out to Quentin Spain for a potential interview because I wanted to talk to him about his time in Cincinnati. I wanted to know what sort of ended there because all my sources have been very mum on the situation. I don't know what the reasoning is for that because I definitely think at times that a Quentin Spain could have been, better suited than some other people the Bengals rolled out, but that's what they went with. So, you got to just go with the flow, I guess.
Alice said next year we have to have all playoff games at home. I want to get your thoughts, Malik. Has your mindset changed this year on home field advantage? How important is it to you, and how important do you think it is to the Bengals next year?
I think with this football team, I trust them to go on the road and beat anybody. They've been in Arrowhead. It'd be different if they never beat the Kansas City Chiefs. They beat the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like I know they can do that. They beat the Buffalo Bills. I know they can do that. So it's not like I think that's why it's a little bit easier to swallow a little bit because I feel like the Bengals in a lot of ways beat themselves. I mean, certainly the Kansas City Chiefs had an amazing game plan and things of that nature, but you would definitely like to be at home, get that home field crowd advantage, especially in the jungle with those rowdy Bengals fans and things of that nature. So you want to see your team have the opportunity to play in front of this crowd and this amazing fan base. So absolutely it's important, but if the Bengals have to go on the road, then so be it as well. But I do think home field advantage is important.
Burrow for Life said, Lou needs to work on his pass rush. What's your thoughts on upgrading the pass rush?
I do. I agree. But I also think that Marion Hobby is one of the best defensive line coaches in football, if not the best. I think that's also indicative of the talent that he has. And I think that sometimes, no matter how much you scheme things, it's ultimately up to the talent to win. And I think they failed to do that yesterday.
He said, Malik, do you see Pitch being the new OC of
Absolutely,
Brian Lee's?
100%, especially with the new contract they gave him.
Eric asks, any thought or speculation on the timing of the Burrow extension?
I think it's going to be one of the first things they do this offseason. I really, really do. Depending on how long, obviously, a negotiation can last long, however long this does last. But I do think they're going to make it a priority of something they want to do, and I expect it to get done as long as the numbers match up. Yeah. We want to thank you guys so much for joining us live on the State of the Jungle. I just want to remind everybody, State of the Jungle will be live again this upcoming Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern time with my crew. I'll have Evan here. I have Logan here. We got some more questions I want to get to, but if you guys could do me all a favor before I start answering more and more of your questions here, can you do me a favor? Give this video a like, and if you aren't subscribed, guys, we were looking at the stats the other day. 84% of the people that watch State of the Jungle, that listen to the State of the Jungle, are not subscribed. They're not subscribed. 84% of the people that are watching State of the Jungle are not subscribed to our YouTube channel. If you guys could do me a huge favor, right? I know some channels, they might ask you if you want to put, if you want to ask a question, you gotta pay super chats and all this. Yeah. We don't do that. We try to get down to everybody's questions and answer everybody's questions and talk with you guys, because this is a show for Bengals fans. If you guys could do me a huge favor, the only way that I'm going to ask for you guys to repay me is simply just, if you guys can simply subscribe to the YouTube channel. 84% of the people that are watching this channel are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. 84. I was completely shocked. So if you can do me a favor, subscribe, give this video a like, greatly appreciate it. Over easy eggs, don't really care, man, what you say. Trust me, we have over 3K followers right now. This is a show for Bengals fans, and this is why we do it. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad look. It's a show that we bring to Bengals fans. We are the only live in studio Bengals, show out there, and we like to include the fan base on the conversations. I'm simply saying 84% of the people that aren't subscribed right now aren't subscribed. So simple as that. If you guys could do us the favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you don't want to, that's fine too as well, but we do appreciate the support.
Steel City Sports said, I saw a clip of Sauce Gardner saying Calvin Austin was the toughest receiver he ever played against. The guy asking the question sounded exactly like you. Was it you?
Yeah, that was me. That was me. Me and Sauce had a great interaction. Me and Sauce had a great interaction at the combine. Yeah, it's funny that people got, responded, and over easy eggs is funny, man. He's a funny guy. Yeah.
Is there any specific free agents you think the Bengals should look at? I know you already mentioned Mike McGlinchey. Is there any others?
I know that as we transition to more and more shows, just so you guys know, we're transitioning more and more towards the draft, free agency. I'll be at the Super Bowl next week. I'll also be at the combine as always, and we'll be doing free agency shows like we always do. Vanguard said he asked the question. I don't know where it is. Let's get to it. Let's not skip anybody's question.
Yeah, no. Let me find it, but let me go to
it. Says Joe Burrow. He says, Vanguard, Joe Burrow take a contract discount. That's very, very hard to gauge. I don't have an inside track to Joe Burrow, so I can't say he'll do one way or the other. All I will say is everything that I've gotten from Joe Burrow, he's a humble guy. He's a guy that understands what it takes to win, and I think that he gets the big picture. And I don't think that the contract he might sign for will be indicative of what the media, quote unquote, says. That's just my thoughts.
Andrew said, do you think Lou overthought the game plan versus the Chiefs?
That is a good question. To me, it was an execution thing. It just felt like an execution thing. It felt like for whatever reasons, the players came out flat. That's just my opinion.
Burrow said it would be stupid for Lou not to take an opportunity for a head coaching job. I've got a question for you. I see a lot of people saying Lou doesn't want the head coaching job, or say, are being selfish to say, oh, Lou needs to stay here. What's your thoughts on Lou becoming head coach?
Every person gets into this business, every coach, especially when you're a coordinator, you take the leap to be a coordinator with the hopes of taking the leap to becoming a head coach. Nobody will take a coordinator position to stay a coordinator forever. That's why you see guys stay in position coaches for a long, long time. Every sense that I've gotten from people that I've talked to inside that building, Lou wants to be a head coach. Not going to outright openly say it and things of that nature. It's 32 jobs in the NFL. They're some of the hardest jobs to come across, especially in this profession. And Lou's deserving of it as well, right? It's not like an Eric Bieniemy situation where you could look at him like, does he call defensive plays? Is he actually that good? Well, we know how good Lou is. We also know we also know the brunt of the issues that, he faced when he first got here to Cincinnati, with players, not buying into the system or just giving him a hard time and things of that nature. This guy endured a lot, and for him to be constantly overlooked as a head coaching position, I think that's the story of the city of Cincinnati. Overlooked, right? Overlooked. But I firmly believe that if he keeps his hands to the plow, keeps working hard, those doors will open for him, and I think he will be a head coach, and I think he'll do a great job when he does become one.
Rachel said, do you think any of the Bengals players are going to leave this offseason?
It always happens. You always have turnover. It's almost like a school, right? Yeah, you come back to school the next year, it's not the same people that you saw last year, right? Whether that be because people transferred or people graduate, whatever the case may be, it's always a ever-changing door. It's like any business.
Gavin said, what are your draft targets, names of players or free agents? We're going to get to those in a couple of shows, so just make sure to stay
I'll just
tuned.
say this: Darnell Washington, Broderick Jones. Those are my guys I want you guys to look at. Do me that favor. Somebody also asked if I was always a Bengals fan, I think. Right?
Yeah. Just curious, have you always been a Bengals fan? I know you started in New York.
Appreciate that question, Still City. Yeah, I've always been a Bengals fan, man. My entire life, like Tigers growing up. My brother used to lie to my mother and say, hey, Malik wants to play Madden. And I was like, hey, I don't want to play Madden. I want to play WWE. And my mom used to get Madden, and we'd have to play Madden, unfortunately. And there was a team on there with a tiger logo at the time, and it was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I had a great time playing with them and having a grand old time. And then I got into the media business, and then part of me coming to Cincinnati was to change the landscape of the media in Cincinnati, shed a positive light on Cincinnati, and be hashtag new media man here, and just do things differently than versus the same old way.
Pedro said, if Callahan leaves, pitcher's probably going to be the next offense coordinator. But if Lou leaves, who's going to become the defense coordinator?
I think I think that will come from the outside. Personally, don't know who that would be, but I think that would come from the outside if Lou did leave to become defensive coordinator.
Eric said, the Bengals made the first signing of last year's free agency. If they do that again this year, can you give us the one name? I think he's saying maybe in the future.
I genuinely don't know until I start talking to my people and things of that nature. But I can tell you who I'd like it to be. Mike McGlinchey. And move on from Lyle Collins, Mike McGlinchey. I would love that personally, but again, I don't know what they're thinking. Long off season ahead of us.
So if you guys have any more questions, make sure to drop them down below. Malik, quick question: Chiefs or the Eagles? Just who do you
Chiefs
got again?
Chiefs. I think the Chiefs beat the Eagles. I do. It's the Kelsey Bowl, right? And appreciate you, Hefe, Casey. Good game to you guys as well, man. Go win it all. Yeah. I think the Chiefs win that one. Mahomes is just superhuman, and I think that they're. I don't think the Eagles are really battle tested, to be honest with you. I don't think the Eagles are really battle tested. If you guys can do me a favor, give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Appreciate your support so much, and we'll be back here live Wednesday for State of the Jungle at 7 p.m. But we'll also be live tomorrow for The Right Bet. The Right Bet presented by First Star Logistics and sponsored by the official sportsbook betting partner of The Right Bet, the best sportsbook out there, Betfred Sportsbook. So make sure you guys are back here tuning in at 7 p.m. tomorrow. If you guys can do me a favor, drop money comments down in the section. If you'd like to win a little bit of money, I gave out some free plays today on the NBA plays today. If you want to win a little bit of money, drop money logo down in the comment section, please. If you're going to be back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. for The Right Bet, drop some money comments down in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation rolling. Any more questions, Daniel?
Keith said, Malik, Daniel, any off-season plans? Yeah, we've actually we've got them a lot, Malik.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Daniel likes to plan things. I don't really know what my plans are. We might get away from each other for a little bit. Not exactly sure.
Maybe do another road trip, but for sure we're doing, I don't know if people know, we're covering the Super Bowl.
We're covering the Super Bowl. I will be in I'm gonna say KC.
Yeah. No,
I'll be in Arizona for the Super Bowl. And I'm looking forward to cover just this. It's something that I'm honored to be, covering, being in this game for as long as I have been. It's really, really a unique experience. I'm really, really excited about it.
We've also got the NFL Combine.
But that's not vacation. That's work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're asking where are we going? I mean, I don't know, man. I know we're going to California for a little bit. I'll be giving the West Coast another crack at it. We'll see what's what with that. But outside of that, I have no idea. I mean, I don't really like to work. I don't like to really celebrate too much. I like to sort of work. That's my thing. But I know that I have to at some point breathe. Some point this year, I am going to go to the UK. I do know that.
I love that.
We
are going to an Ed Sheeran concert.
We are going to an Ed Sheeran. This is true. Ed Sheeran. For those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Ed Sheeran fan, big Ed Sheeran fan. So I'll be going to see him live. My favorite artist.
Vanguard said, "Are we keeping Hayden Hurst this offseason?"
I know the Bengals like him, and I will imagine it won't be too hard to keep him. So
Oliver said, "Initial thoughts on Cam Taylor-Britt."
Love Cam Taylor-Britt. Love Juice. I think he's a phenomenal player. I think that this year was also a huge step for him to gain experience and exposure.
Something I'm actually surprised we haven't talked about yet. Seal City Sports said, "I feel extremely bad for Joseph Osai. It was a dumb mistake, but I feel like no qualification to criticize him too much. In the heat of battle, he made a mistake. Seems like a really solid player." I actually thought he had a great game before that, but what was your thoughts on Osai?
I think Joseph Osai is getting a bad rap for one play. One play does not define an entire career, just like one bad song doesn't define an artist's career, right? It's one of those things. It sucks, and to see what happened with Jermaine Pratt saying what he said, it was tough to see, especially when you know how close and tight knit this how close and tight knit this locker room is, man. That was unfortunate. I know he has since apologized, so I won't beat the guy up too much about the things that happened. But hats off to Joseph Osai, man. Keep your head up, man. You got a long, fantastic career ahead of you, man. And anybody ridiculing him, got to take it on the chin. The play happened, but we onward and upwards is was my motto. So
on that last drive, I mean, he had two different pressures. He had actually one of the better games out of the entire team. Michael Ruffin said, "Who is the one Bengal player that you would be surprised if they stayed this offseason?"
The one Bengals player I would be surprised if they stayed this offseason, I can go with the easy answer and say Jesse Bates, right? That would be the easy one. But if I had to go with a tough one, Lyle Collins for me. And again, this is just me giving my opinion. This is no inside scoop. Those will come as the season, as the offseason draws near. But yeah, that's just for me personally.
Can we get Todd Bowles from the Bucks?
No, he's the head coach.
Keith said, "Hats off to BJ Hill for standing guard to his brother." What's your thoughts just quickly about the Bengals locker room?
I love the Bengals locker room culture. I love BJ Hill. It was an absolute steal that we got it from the New York Football Giants for Billy Price, and we got a 6th-rounder out of it or something like that. So, just hats off to that entire locker room. Hats off to the coaching staff. Hats off to Zach, Joe Burrow, yada, yada. The list goes on to how many leaders that they have in this locker room. They keep showing themselves.
Chasten said, "Do you see any changes coming to the offensive line?"
Yeah, I do.
Good answer. Rick said, "We need a running game to relieve pressure off of Joe."
Oh, we do. We do. And I think that this could be the year where the running game finally gets going and we address that. Something needs to change though.
Sticking with the theme of free agency, Ducey said, "Sleeper free agency signing this offseason."
Sleeper free Mike Gesicki, tight end, Miami Dolphins.
I like it.
Jared, I'll answer Jared's question last. What is he asking?
Yeah, so he said, "Just curious, why don't you think Lyle will be back next year?" I get the majority of the regular season, but yeah,
this is
2
just
more
my
years.
personal preference. He tore his ACL late in the season, so ideally he won't be ready to start the regular season. The Bengals can save, I think, up to $7 million in cap space this year and $6 million the following year by cutting Lyle Collins. Especially, it makes a lot of sense if there's a cheaper option out there, which I think that at this point, this is where Duke Tobin and staff and company have to get smart with the cap space and utilize it, especially when you have that Burrow contract coming in. But that's just my opinion. And I think that you don't also know if Lyle Collins wants to retire or not, but it seems very, very, it would be crazy to say if Lyle Collins could be, it'll be tough to say, to see if he'll be back, if he's like wants to even play next year, because you don't know what an injury like that could do to a guy's mindset, especially getting hurt this late in the season.
Couple rapid fire ones really quickly. Do you think the Bengals restructure Joe Mixon's contract?
Bengals do not restructure contracts for whatever reason, right? And it's a weird one. I will say though, if they're going to do it, this is the one year where they probably should do it. Joe Mixon had an interesting quote. I believe he was getting interviewed by the Cincinnati Enquirer. He said, "I will do whatever it takes on my part to stay here in Cincinnati." And so to me, I think that's hint. So it tells you where his loyalty lies.
Steel City Sports said it sounded like Pratt said something along the lines of "It's my last year," in the video that went viral. Do you think that he's done in Cincy?
I do think he's done in Cincinnati. I do. I would be shocked if he's back.
Michael Ruffin said, "Will Pollock be back this upcoming year?"
Yes.
Is a trade, this is from Jeremy, is a trade for offensive tackle a possibility?
Anything's a possibility. I didn't see the Bengals trading for Cordy Glenn a couple years ago, and they did.
And the last question from Chasten. If we sign Mike Gesicki, or let's say they draft a tight end, do you see Hayden Hurst walking?
I think Hayden Hurst loves Cincinnati, and I think it'll suck, right, if they pick up Mike Gesicki or draft a tight end, because this be like the third place he's gone where that sort of has happened to him. But I think Hayden Hurst has really found a home here in Cincinnati, and I can see them bringing him back.
Rick said, "You guys have the best Bengals show anywhere."
Man, Rick, I appreciate you, man. That means a lot to me, man. We try to make it inclusive, and my two counterparts aren't joining us on the show, and Logan and Evan, but I know Evan's sick right now. I know Logan's headed back from KC. So we'll be back here live on Wednesday with these guys. If you guys could do us just a huge favor, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Greatly appreciate you guys. I want you guys to catch us when we do go live. We go live every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time for State of the Jungle. And don't think because the Bengals season has ended that we won't still be going live each and every single week. We 100% will be going live each and every single week. I'll be live on Wednesday for State of the Jungle at 7 p.m. I also will be live tomorrow for The Right Bet, presented by First Star Logistics and sponsored by Betfred Sportsbook. So we're going live a bunch of times this week. Want you guys to make sure that you guys catch us when we do go live. So do us a huge favor. 84% of the people who watch this show are not subscribed to the YouTube channel. If you guys could do us that huge favor, I greatly appreciate you. Steel City Sports had a fantastic question. It says, "Are you an Ohio State fan for college football?" Steel City Sports, what I'm about to say might get me canceled, but I'm going to say it anyway. I'm an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. However, my loyalty is to the state of Ohio, not the Cleveland Browns. So I do support Ohio State. I do support the Cincinnati Bearcats. I don't know if it's wise of me to pick a team in Ohio to make enemies. I don't know if I will. But maybe you guys can help me out with that way. Maybe you guys could try to help me figure out which way I should lean. Should I lean UC, or should I land the Ohio State? Don't know where I should go with that. Daniel and I are still trying to figure that part out.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, maybe Xavier. I don't think they have a football team.
No, they don't have a football, but
basketball. Pretty good at basketball.
Basketball, right? But I don't know if I want to get into the whole, e-sport, this or that. I don't know.
I feel you.
Yeah. But want to thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, if you guys can do us a huge favor, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give this video a like. We'll be back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern time for The Right Bet. We'll be back here Wednesday for the State of the Jungle Bengals talk show, the only live in-studio Bengals talk show, 7 p.m. Eastern time Wednesday. So make sure you guys keep it locked with us. We greatly appreciate your support. We will see you guys. Tomorrow night for The Right Bet, and then we will see you guys Wednesday again for State of the Jungle live, when I'll be back with my guys Evan and Logan as we get geared up for a huge offseason, the biggest offseason in Bengals history. But until then, everybody, who day, all day, every day. Love you guys.